The Division of Performing and Visual Arts at Northeastern University, Boston, in association with WGBH Radio, presents A Note to You with Roland Nadeau, Professor of Music at Northeastern University. Support for A Note to You is provided by the generosity of Northeastern University alumni and friends through contributions to the university's annual fund.
Hello, this is Roland Nadeau, and you're listening to A Note to You. Now, the melody that you're going to hear in just a moment, I'm sure that you have heard at least 100 times, but you never will have heard it this way. Well, there it was. I'm sure that you recognize that music. Music by Puccini from the opera O Mio, the Aria O Mio Babbino Coro from the opera Gianni Schicchi. And it was being played not on a clarinet, not on a saxophone, and not on a flute. It was being played on a MIDI wind controller, and it was being played by Bruce Ronkin. Now, Bruce is an assistant professor of music at Northeastern University and also the director of the music industry program there. Also, he's president of Roncorp Publications, a leading publisher of music and text for woodwinds, and he wears lots of hats. He is an editor of music for saxophone, for example, and has written a very well-known book, and he's here with me today, and we're going to chat, and he's going to tell me almost right away what the devil a MIDI wind controller is. Bruce, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Roland.
What is it? I mean, this wonderful thing that you're playing.
A MIDI wind controller is a new development in the world of electronic music that allows wind players, people that are trained on saxophone or clarinet, to explore the world of electronic music. And the controller part of of electronic music setup is the part of the instrument that controls the synthesizer. And the instrument that I'm playing is the wind controller. It's shaped somewhat like a space-age clarinet. It's got keys like a clarinet, and a mouthpiece that looks somewhat like a saxophone mouthpiece. And
doesn't have any reeds in it, though.
It has a plastic reed on the back that's just there for feel. It doesn't really do anything.
It doesn't do anything?
Right.
Makes you feel at home, right?
Inside the mouthpiece, there's a air velocity sensor and a jaw movement sensor. And so the synthesizer monitors what I'm doing on the wind controller, and by doing that, I can play the synthesizer.
And you can make it sound like a lot of different things, can't you?
Oh, yes.
And we're going to be hearing that today in some of the music that you're going to be doing by Rachmaninoff and Benjamin Britten and Saint-Saëns, where I'll have the opportunity to play with you, and a premiere that we're going to do, a radio premiere. And now, there are three things, as we were chatting before, that can be done, right? You can imitate another instrument, is that right?
Yes.
Is that imitation pretty close or approximate or what?
It can get fairly close.
Can you illustrate some of that?
Okay. I can try to sound like a trumpet.
Wow, that's pretty close. And was I dreaming when we were rehearsing? You were fooling with it. Could you sound like a piano? Not that I want you to do it right now, but You can sound like a piano, can't you?
Sure. I can also try to sound like a piano or string instruments or percussion instruments.
And we're going to hear, by the way, when I heard you rehearse that wonderful new piece by William Moylan, at the very end, you were the percussion section of the orchestra.
Yes, that's right.
That's terrifically exciting. Okay, so you can do other. You want to do one more? You want to do one more instrument? Can you do a bass instrument, by the way? Does it have to be a high instrument?
No, I can play instruments in all different ranges. I can take that trumpet and transform it into a brass section.
And that's all with that little thing you're holding in your hand.
Yes, it is. Or I can try to sound like a percussion player.
That is, Bruce, that's unbelievable. Now, I guess there are keyboard synthesizers that can do that sort of stuff, right?
Yes, there is.
Now, what's the difference between what they can do and how it's applied, in music and what you can do? Is there a difference? Are you doing the same thing?
Well, I think that the main difference is that the wind controller can allow the performer to perhaps be a bit more expressive with the music that is performed. When a keyboardist plays a synthesizer, he or she has both hands on the keyboard all the time, and there's not really another way to easily control the phrasing or the dynamics. With the wind controller, you've got the airstream and what you're doing with your jaw to help shape the phrase.
Well, we'll be watching for that as you play some of the pieces coming up. Also, you can modify, right, the sounds of various instruments. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true. I could take a sound like this, a flute sound.
That's very close, Bruce.
Mm-hmm. And I can take that sound and I can change it a little bit by adding some processing to the sound and by adding a little bit of bells in the background, just a touch.
And the possibilities there must be almost unlimited. I mean, are there limitations, or do you have, a universe of possible sounds?
Well, I'm sure eventually there are limitations, but it seems every time I have an idea in my mind of what I want to sound like, there's a way to do it. There's a way to work it out.
Okay, well, let's listen to some music utilizing the MIDI wind controller as played for us by our guest today, Bruce Ronkin. And at the keyboard is Juanita Sue, and she comes, by the way, from the University of Massachusetts, Lowell, and she's the coordinator of the keyboard area there. We're going to hear now two pieces, one by Bozza called Aria, and I guess you're going to sort of simulate a sax, are you here? Is this sax sound or what?
The piece is originally written for saxophone.
Oh, it was?
But rather than sound just like a saxophone, I've decided to make a sound that's kind of a combination between a harmonica and a whistle.
A harmonica and a whistle?
Yes.
Okay, and right after that is going to be one of my favorite pieces by Rachmaninoff, the Vocalise. And you want to give us a little preview of what's going to happen there, or should we guess?
In the Rachmaninoff, again, the work was written for a singer, singing in a Vocalise fashion or singing without words. And I've tried to maintain that smooth legato character throughout, but I'm using a sound that's might be almost reminiscent of an organ sound in some ways. Very smooth, clear sound.
Good. Well, let's hear it. Here it is now, the music of Bozza and Aria and Rachmaninoff, the Vocalise, with music with totally new instrument, coming from a totally new instrument, and with totally new tone colors. Well, that's always been an absolutely gorgeous piece with a great melody by Rachmaninoff, the Vocalise, Opus 34, number 14, and that followed the Aria by Eugène, Bozza, another beautiful piece, and that was played for us on the MIDI wind controller by Dr. Bruce Ronkin. And Bruce was absolutely right. That is so very, very expressive. You were not exaggerating. You can do a lot with these new colors, new tone colors.
Yeah, the possibilities are really endless. It's as if the instrumentalist is being handed a brand new palette of colors to draw from.
Yeah. Did you, by any chance, refer back in this last one to the Ondes Martineau used by Messiaen and Turangalila? The sound was very similar to me.
It is very similar. It brings back some of that very evocative quality.
Yeah, half eerie, half vocal, half
yes.
disembodied. Mm-hmm. Very romantic sounds you're making there. We're going to have some real solo stuff now, right? We're going to have some pieces by the contemporary composer Benjamin Britten, 6 Metamorphoses after Ovid, Opus 49, and we're going to be hearing 1, 3, and 6. Pan, who played upon the reed pipe, which was Syrinx, his beloved. Niobe, who, lamenting the death of her 14 children, was turned into a mountain, and Arethusa, who, flying from the love of Alpheus, the river god, was turned into a fountain. What will we be treated to here? What kind of timbre, what kind of tone colors?
What I've tried to do here was to pick a tone quality that might be evocative of the title of the movement. When Ovid wrote these poems many years ago, he based one on each mythological story. And since the first movement is about Pan, who played on the wooden flute, I've tried to make a sound related to a flute sound. In the next movement, where Niobe is lamenting the death of her many children, I've tried to portray that sadness in the sound. And
kind of a funereal sound?
Yes, I think so.
Dark?
Dark and lamenting.
Okay. What instrument would it be most approximate to? Trombone, maybe?
Well, what I've actually used in this movement is a clarinet sound with some voices mixed in with it.
Oh, okay. A multiple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And finally for Arethusa?
And in the final movement, it's a mixture of bells and plucked strings.
That's going to be great fun. All right, here we go. Bruce Ronkin, again playing the brand new instrument titled MIDI Wind Controller, doing the music of Benjamin Britten. 3 pieces from 6 Metamorphoses after Ovid, Opus 49. Well, there was some highly unusual and I think absolutely terrific, interesting new sounds played for us on the MIDI wind controller by Bruce Ronkin, our guest today. Bruce, the next one that you're going to do is by Saint-Saëns, the Clarinet Sonata. And as we were rehearsing it, I thought I heard a relationship between the sound that you programmed there and the third one from the Metamorphoses of Ovid that we just heard. Is it close?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. I'm
It is
getting
a very,
it into my ear a little bit.
very similar sound.
But the sound, which is clarinet-ish, right?
Yes.
That we're going to hear is not alone. I mean, there are other sounds going on at the same time. I thought I heard some sort of echoey type things.
Yes, there's some echo to the sound, and there's also some layering of human voices behind it.
Aha. Okay.
Or I should say human voice-like sounds.
Aha. Okay, well, I think we're going to hear it. And I took opportunity here because I have played this piece before to ask Bruce if I could play the piano with him. So our pianist today, Juanita Su, is going to step aside and I'm going to sit down and play the first movement with Bruce Ronkin of the Clarinet Sonata, very late in the life of Saint-Saëns. The first movement is just a lovely one with a great tune. And it's going to sound like this. Oh, it's great fun to play that music by Saint-Saëns, especially since I have played it before a couple of times with just an acoustic clarinet, this time to play it with the MIDI wind controller with Bruce Ronkin. Great fun. That was the Clarinet Sonata Opus 167 by Saint-Saëns, just the first movement. In just a couple of minutes, we're going to come back now to Bruce and talk about some interesting stuff, I think. In the meantime, let's just take a little break. We really very much appreciate your listening to A Note to You wherever you hear it. We also particularly appreciate your support of your public local radio station. And because we do appreciate that, I want to send you something. I've written some articles, 3 of them that I call part of Home Pianist. One of them is on Debussy, The Girl with the Flaxen Hair. Another one is some Chopin. And I also wrote an article on how to play and have fun with piano duets. Now, if you'd like to have those absolutely free of charge, write to me, to A Note to You, WGBH, 125 Western Avenue, Boston, Massachusetts, 02134. And you get 3 free lessons and also some information about my music department at my university, Northeastern University. So, right, we'd love to hear from you, okay? All right, this is Roland Nadeau. You're listening to A Note to You. We come to you from NPR, National Public Radio. Bruce Ronkin is my guest, and Bruce, we're going to be getting into a world premiere in just a minute. But before we do that, another one of the hats that you wear so very well is as the director of the music industry program at Northeastern University. Tell our audience about music industry programs nationally in general. What are they, where are they, and what do they do?
Well, music industry programs are a fairly recent development at the university level. And music industry programs prepare students for careers in the music business. We've got a $4 billion a year industry that needs people to work in radio, in the record industry, as artist managers, as concert promoters, as orchestra managers. And the music industry program investigates all of those areas for the students. And
there are certain universities and colleges that do this around the country, right?
Yes, there are.
Florida, I heard there was one.
University of Miami, sure. Yeah. They were actually the first program back in the late 70s to start.
And the one at Northeastern University that you direct, is there anything different about that one from what the others do?
Well, I'm quite proud of the program at Northeastern University. It's a relatively new program, going into about its 5th year now. And some of the special things that we have at Northeastern, one of them is our cooperative education program. It's a method that allows our students to alternate terms in school, studying the book aspects of music industry, with real-life application. And they go out and they work with record companies and recording studios and really get some hands-on experience.
Oh, thank you, Bruce, for telling us about that. Now we're going to move into a world radio premiere. Yes. Music of William Moylan and a piece called Future Echoes from the Ancient Voices of Turtle Island. And we're going to be hearing that with pianist Juanita Su. And first you're going to tell us about it.
Well, this work, written by William Moylan, who has been a friend of mine for many years, wrote the work as a reaction to the many celebrations of the 500th anniversary of Columbus's discovery of North America. And in this piece, he wanted to juxtapose some of the ideas of Native American music and philosophy with high technology and synthesizers and the MIDI wind controller. And he did that by blending rhythms from Native American traditions and flute sounds and percussion sounds, and then combining that with electronic processing of the sounds and many of the other techniques available to him on a synthesizer.
Okay. And while we're doing this, I guess you're preparing, while we're doing this particular program, you're preparing to go to Italy to give it its world premiere, right? And where is that, and what's happening there? And tell us about that before we hear it.
Well, Juanita and I will be heading off to Pesaro, Italy, for the 10th World Saxophone Congress, which is a convocation of saxophonists that happens every 3 to 4 years, where we get together and discuss what's happening today in the world of saxophone and MIDI wind controllers and music.
Okay, well, let's listen to it now. This will be, as we said before, and I'm very proud of this, the world radio premiere, Future Echoes from the Ancient Voices of Turtle Island by William Moylan, played on the MIDI wind controller by my guest Bruce Ronkin, and at the keyboard Juanita Tzu. I really must say that that music is totally arresting and engaging. I just love it. Music of William Moylan, and that title was Future Echoes from the Ancient Voices of Turtle Island, and it was performed for us by our guest Bruce Ronkin on the MIDI wind controller, and at the keyboard was Juanita Tsu. Now, finally, a very brilliant virtuoso piece for the violin. Every violinist knows this piece. It's by Sarasate, and it's called Zigeunerweisen, Gypsy Airs, and we're going to hear Bruce play this one. great fun music, the music of Pablo de Sarasate, Zigeunerweisen, played for us by Bruce Ronkin on and at the keyboard Juanita Tsu. It's been great having you with A Note to You, and we want you to come back real soon because those are charming sounds.
Thank you very much, Roland. I enjoyed it very much.
A Note to You is produced by Mike Manning. Our associate producer is John Wojtkiewicz, and we receive production assistance from Les Miller. The engineer for this program was Ray Fallon, and I'm Roland Nadeau. Support for A Note to You is provided by the friends and alumni of Northeastern University, and the program is produced in association with WGBH Radio Boston.